Hi everybody, so excited to go live with Mike Ellis this morning. I hope that you guys enjoy this episode. It was just so wonderful to have the conversation with Mike about being present in these challenging times and what that's like when you're going through something like we have been with the pandemic, but a lot of other personal things that we've been going through. It's really hard to remain present and to be present with how you feel, to be present with the things that are going on inside of you, the responses that you're having, like fight or flight, responses, or you're starting to feel anxiety and things like that. And it was such a good conversation to have in regards to how do we remain present and how do we grow and learn in this process. And so I'm super excited to bring Mike Ellis on. He just joined, so he'll request to join here in a sec. But I'm so excited for this episode. His podcast is amazing, and it's all about, diving deeper and asking those questions. So let me bring him on because this is just going to be an amazing conversation, and the episode is an amazing episode. And so I'm so excited for this conversation. Hi, Mike.
Hi, good morning. How you going?
So excited. Good. It's so good to see you again.
Yeah, great to see you again. Yeah, I really enjoyed our conversation, so it's nice to reconnect.
Yes. Look at you. You have a beautiful scenery behind you.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful day. Currently up in the Russian River Valley in Sonoma.
Yes.
And staying in a little cabin, which is this place behind us here. And so I'm currently sitting out in the sunshine because it's pretty chilly, so trying to make the most of the of nature's heater, and it's doing a pretty good job at the moment.
Yeah, because it's cold. It's been really cold the past couple days for Californians anyway. We're so spoiled.
Yeah, it's definitely and cold for an Australian too.
Yeah, true.
I'm not used to this, particularly in January or February.
Very true. It's really cool that you're kind of getting away and just relaxing and having some good time. I've been seeing the stuff that you've been posting. It just looks wonderful. So I'm so happy that you're able to enjoy.
And making the most of it.
Yeah, good. So I'm so excited because our episode comes out or is out now live today.
Awesome.
And it was just, I think it was so timely because of everything that was actually going on that morning. The morning of the episode that we recorded for everybody, it was when the Capitol was being stormed and rioted and stuff like that, and it was really stressful. It was really stressful.
It was a time, and there's a lot going on in the US, and there's a lot going on in everyone's lives, and there's a lot going on in my life and a lot going on in your life, and it's just a busy time to be present to everything that's happening. And so it felt like a really, that it was kind of conversation that was not scripted. We weren't kind of hitting any points. There was no real agenda, but I felt like it was really genuine and really honest and really raw. And I think, and I got so much out of that, just, talking about things with you as well. Mm-hmm. And so, I appreciated that. And I feel like at this time when there is so much going on, and it's hard to process. So, I'm conscious not to jump to conclusions or find solutions or do I try and process things. Just allow whatever needs to happen. And that conversation just felt like a nice kind of debrief of a lot of what was going on. I think that's in and of itself is really powerful.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I'm one to want to find the answers and to suss it out. And I hate that in between time of like, I don't know what's next, or I don't know the answer to something. And so that was something that we talked about, of just remaining present and being aware of how your body is responding to, like that day I was having like some anxiety, fight or flight, things like it's coming at my door, banging down my door, and yet I'm literally across the whole country. So is just really funny and interesting how I was having that response, because I don't normally struggle with high levels of anxiety. But we talked a little bit about like how to process and how to be present. And I loved some of the things you said of just just sitting in it, just literally sitting in your process and being present and holding space for yourself. And it's so important.
It's the hardest thing to do. And I think it's the most important thing to do. Not all the time, but sometimes, when you need to, it's the only thing to do. If you really want to kind of go through something to get, to where the other side of the experience. And I think what's really important too in the conversation that we had and in this conversation to acknowledge that, that we're doing that I'm doing the work. And not to say I'm doing it, so therefore, I know what I'm talking about. I'm doing it, and I'm finding it really difficult as well. And I really want to normalize that, because it can feel, and I've certainly felt like, am I doing, like, what am I doing? Am I doing this? Am I doing this wrong? Am I just sucking at this? Am I failing? And that compounds on those expectations of how you should be feeling or how you should be experiencing something, just compounds on the current fear or uncertainty or anxiety. And so I think just to normalize the experience of, be in it and be present to it. And don't be surprised if that's bloody terrifying and really hard. And to ask for help. I think a lot of people, like potentially you, from what we've shared, and me certainly, I'm always looking for the answers to kind of help me through something, or help me process something, or to be a better human. But sometimes you just can't see, and you just don't know. And the perspective that we have from inside our own experience, in our own minds, in our own bodies, it's I think it's really important to connect to your body and understand what it needs and what it's telling you. But if the noise of your mind is drowning out everything else, then that's, you just can't hear what's going on in your body. And so to get some help too, I think, is really important. And that might just be from talking to someone else. It doesn't have to be in a professional therapeutic counseling arrangement. That's awesome. But it might just be talking to somebody. And so, I've found that groups, whether it to be, circles, online, weekly Zoom things, even on, what's it called, Clubhouse. Like, there's a lot of opportunities to connect, even albeit virtually, with others. And I just scheduled this last week. I scheduled a half an hour catch up with a mate just to say, how you doing? Because we don't, I'd love to hear about what's going on for you, because I'm dealing with some stuff. And reached out to a couple of friends, and just getting it out, because there's so much going on that it's really hard to process from within. And so sitting in it and being present, and meditating or being mindful or whatever it is awesome. And don't expect it to be all kind of peace, love, and rainbows and zen and chill, because when it comes up, it's messy.
And I think it's important too, what you said about normalizing that, it's okay to not have all the answers and to not have your shit together, technically, right? All the time. Like, you're human. And part of being human is experiencing difficult things, or experiencing pain in some way, or sorrow or grief, as well as happiness, love, joy, peace. Like, all those things are a part of our human experience. And I think it's hard, especially if you're like an influencer, or you're someone that's present, you have a camera in your face all the time. It's really hard to feel like you can be, like, that is normal to not have your shit together, because you're supposed to be leading your community and things like that. But also people who are in companies high up, like, it's not just influencers, it's everybody. Like, everybody has that maybe partial concept of, I need to have it all together. I need to be okay. I need to come off like I'm okay when I'm dealing with some stuff. And I think it's really important to normalize the fact that sometimes you're going through something, but it's so important to be present, because if you're not present, then it can't surface and be released. If you're holding it down and you're trying to stuff it down so that it's not expressed, or released, because you're afraid of what that may be like, then it's never actually, you can never let go. You can never move forward. You can never move on. And so it's so important to normalize it, because that also gives you the freedom, right? To say, it's okay for me to release this however I need to. If that's meditation, if like for you, going on a run, like you loved that. That was great. There's so many different things that we can do, different modalities of expressing or releasing and moving forward in our journey. So I think that's so important.
Totally. Something there's so much in there that you just shared, which is really important to reflect upon. I think one of the things is this expectation that we have and of ourselves based on what we see in others, and we've been sold, and we're complicit in this as consumers, but we've been sold the most bullshit, destructive lie that life is meant to be good, and you're meant to be happy, and it's meant to look a certain way, and your lifestyle is, ideally would look like this, and you'd feel like that, and that's marketing 101, and it's translated into online and Instagram or whatever the platform is through a highly curated version. News is a completely. I think it's coming to a real kind of crisis point and a tipping point where, not only is it completely unrealistic to expect that we that you as an individual can conform or aspire to whatever it is that we're aspiring to or being influenced by or sold, whatever it is that we're being sold, but it's really destructive, and so we have a responsibility. I think if you're going to speak online or in public or speak on a subject or on a topic, then I think that I really believe you have a responsibility to do so with integrity and with honesty, and so it's because it's really destructive otherwise. And if we don't if we're not aware of just how contrived and how curated and how it's unreal a lot of what we consume is, then we get really confused, and we don't know why we feel the way in which we feel when everyone else is living their best life online. It's just not the case, and that's not even talking about the kind of support that you need to process this, or even just the fundamental truth that life is not always going to be good, and it's not meant to be. The kind of first noble truth of Buddhism is that life is suffering. Now that might sound like a really really sort of pessimistic approach, but there is freedom in that, because it's normal, and it's not to say you don't have expectations or hopes or dreams of things, achieving or experiencing or having things, but don't be surprised when you suffer, because it's going to happen. And if you look at every single human being throughout history, there's no one that is an exception to that. And so, just realigning our expectations of what is real, I think will help to then take the step to go, well, all right, well, I'm experiencing whatever it is. How can I be supported through that? And the other thing too is that there's not a solution, and there's not an outcome, or there's not an answer that presumes that it's like a finite process, and it's just not. It's a constant, multifaceted and really complex evolution of an experience of living a life. And so there's no answer. There might just be a way to address a problem or a challenge, but that's going to change as you go through it as well. So, I don't think we are problems to fix. I think we are having an experience, and we just get better at it the more we acknowledge and honor the truth of that experience and support each other as we're doing that. And I feel like we need that. that we need that support and that community and that connection with each other more than any. And I'm hoping, and I'm starting to, it feels like it's sort of seeing a bit more of that integrity come into how people are communicating now, and we're craving it. So, you know, it just takes brave people like yourself to have these conversations and kind of light a spark for others to go, oh shit, I feel like that too. And hopefully be relatable. I think that's really important.
I think one thing that was coming up for me that I really love about what you do. Oh, I think we lost your connection here for a sec. Let's see if we'll bring them back on. Oh, there you are. I hear you. There you are.
Still here?
Yeah. One thing that I love about what you do is you ask questions, not necessarily to get an answer, but you ask questions to go on the journey. It's an invitation to go on a journey of thought, of pondering, of navigating maybe where something sits in you, and how that influences you, or how that calls something up and out. Maybe that's belief, faith, maybe that's strength, maybe that's hurt, pain that's unhealed. But I love the way that you do that. And that was something that inspired me when I listened to your podcast, A Satisfied Mind, that I was like, I really want to have a conversation with this guy, and I want everybody to hear it, because this is something that's rare. It's rare that we have somebody like yourself, Mike, that is wanting to ask the questions that are an invitation for people. And I think that's something that we need right now.
Yeah, thank you. That's really kind. And I'm glad that the questions are resonating with people. And you know, I think there is a default to the answer. Like, what's the answer? And we ask a question for the answer, as opposed to ask a question for what it opens up. And that might be other questions as well, because I think there's a real, not, you know, I'm speaking in broad generalizations here, but I think generally there's a fear of not knowing the answer. But if you do truly want to grow and learn, then for me, it's just as much a process of unlearning what it is that we think we know. And questions are really good at doing that. Questions that challenge assumptions about what it is that you know. Questions that just open you up. I mean, that's in my experience of, you know, just being a student and then a teacher, and then working with people in this context. Questions. If you drop the right question at the right time, that's it. That's all. I mean, that's some of the most transformational work you can do is just to ask the right question, or be asked the right question at the right time. And so, but you know, I have this resistance to it as well. And this happened this morning. My partner asked me a question, and I'm like, well, no, I'm asking you. Tell me the answer. Tell me the answer of what it is that you think, or you know, that you're interpreting. And she responded and said, well, no, what do you think it is? I'm like, fuck, okay. I actually know the answer. I feel like I know the answer, but I don't want to do the work to explore it. But doing the work to explore it is where the growth is, right? And so questions, I think, are just so powerful. You know, the right question at the right time in expanding our awareness, and becoming comfortable with what we don't know, and enjoying that. Not enjoying that process necessarily in the first instance, but just becoming more comfortable and familiar with that, because you know, so much of the problems, that disconnect that we're experiencing at the moment, are a result of people just with closed minds, just butting heads against each other. And I think if we can learn to listen more, and learn to listen to understand as opposed to listen to respond, I think we'll go a long way to just growing, you know, and being more tolerant, and learning more about ourselves, which I think helps us to learn more about each other. So questions are so powerful in that process.
They are. They're huge. I think if you don't question yourself, why you're behaving a certain way, why you're talking a certain way, why you have a reaction to someone or something that's happening, and you're not willing to question it, just saying like, why am I having this reaction? Or why am I talking to my partner, for instance, this way? What did they do or what did they say that caused me to feel like angry, upset, or sad? Or it's really important. And even the good things, like when someone says something that sparks joy in you, of, well, where is that coming from, and why does that fulfill me, or why does that make me so happy? Because that's also how you find what sings to you, what works for you, what you love, what you enjoy. You get to know that more. So it's so important on the journey. I
Totally.
wanted I wanted to ask you, what are a couple of things um, that you're finding help you in the process of your journey? I kind of asked you this in the episode of helps you in the process or supports you along your journey of processing or remaining present in that process.
Mm, yeah. I can share for you what I do, but I'll preface that by saying what I do is what works for me.
Right.
And so knowing what it is that works for you is the first step. Knowing what your needs are and how you what your kind of operating system is
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
will is the first step. And that's not necessarily difficult, but it might require a bit of trial and error.
Yeah.
And to be careful, and in that process is very much kind of trying things on and seeing what works, and being careful not to take on board something because it works for somebody else, but to test it and see if it works for you. And if it works, keep doing it. It's really simple. If
Yeah.
it doesn't work, then potentially stop doing it or adapt it. So there are things that I've been meditating like since I was like a teenager, and I'm still uncertain as to whether it's as helpful for me as I'd like to think it is. But it's one of those things I keep sort of tweaking. Um, but I think in words, and so for me, I have to write, have to get my feelings or my experiences out in words. That's why I talk so much and write so much, because it's a way of processing.
Yeah.
For someone else, it might be drawing, art, or
Yeah.
creating music or whatever it is. But for me, it's
Yeah.
just getting the words out. And there are there's a ritual that I have. Not even a ritual. It's just a habit that I have on the daily, which for me is just the fundamentals for being grounded and present. The first thing is exercise in the morning. I got up and went for a run this morning. It was freezing, but I just get so much clarity, and I come back and it's freezing. I have a warm shower, and I just get so much clarity from that experience, and it just regulates my nervous system and my body in a way that meditation doesn't. And I've
Mm.
tried it. I've tried both. But what works for me is exercise followed by some breath work, mindful breathing, and some visualization. That's maybe 10 or 15 minutes. And then I'm good for the rest of the day. In terms of just setting myself up, starting from zero,
Yeah.
as opposed to starting with a deficit. And
Mm-hmm.
there have been times over this last month where I haven't been doing that, and I notice it. I just feel really ordinary. So it's simple for me: exercise, breath work, and meditation, and then I'm good to go. And if I'm not getting out what I have inside me, then that's unhealthy as well. So if I need to talk, I need to talk to process. I need to think out loud, and that's just what works for me. For somebody else, it might be, and it will be something completely different.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we each have a responsibility as human beings who relate to others, whether you're in a relationship or not, or whether you're whether you're going to work or however you're communicating, relating with. I think we have a responsibility to each other just to take care of what we bring to those
Mm-hmm.
interactions. So you're not being, an asshole. So for me, that's what works. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
amongst other things, but it's simple. It's exercise, it's eating well, and it's getting sleep. You
Yeah.
know,
So
um,
important.
and that's not groundbreaking, right? And every fitness, health, every kind of protocol would start with the same three things:
Mm-hmm.
get good sleep, eat well, and exercise.
Mm-hmm.
How many? I mean, I don't do all of those things all the time, but I know that when I do, I'm 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 okay. You know.
Yeah, you're feeling much more centered, grounded, ready for the day, ready
Yep.
to process. Like you've kind of just like pruned yourself so that you're
Yep.
able to flourish during the day, which is really great. Yeah, for me, I think exercise is huge. I like to do like something more intense to get like my heart rate up and then kind of finish with a little bit of yoga. I always really feel really awesome. Plus, I kind of use that as like a stretching as well and
Yep.
just getting loose so I'm not tight the rest of the day from whatever I did. And visualization and also gratitude, I think really helps ground me. And that's not groundbreaking either, but I don't say like I have to write 10 things out, or it could just be one thing that that is resonating. It's not fake. I'm not having to like drum it up. It's just no, I'm really grateful for my apartment, or I'm really grateful for my car that I just got because I feel safer in it. It could be different things that it's just like that gives me a sense of security and safety as I'm driving, and I can see more because I'm up higher. It's simple things like that, that just are like, I'm really grateful for that, or I'm really grateful for this particular friend that just rings my doorbell, whenever they know they can sense I need a friend. I'm really
Mm-hmm.
grateful for that person. It could be anything. But gratitude really centers me and grounds me. And I feel like the energy, the atmosphere around me also changes. And I'm sure that's something that you also feel as well, is that atmospheric, energetic change, that shift that happens when you set up for your day.
Totally. Totally. And these are things that, are so so simple.
So
Simple
simple.
gratitude for one, right? Is
Mm-hmm.
so simple, but it's not easy because for a lot of people, and myself included, it takes a conscious intention,
Yeah.
which is counter to a lot of the conditioning that
Yes.
I grew up with and have inherited just from my experiences. And I think a lot of other people are potentially the same, whereby we we know what to do and we know what's going to help us, but we don't do it because it's just a habit that we've been conditioned to
Mm-hmm.
to form, and it takes intention, conscious intention. But what you said about how your state changes, how your mindset changes as a result, what you notice changes,
Yeah.
everything changes when
Yeah.
you are conscious of what it is that you're focusing on and how it makes you feel.
So true.
And like, it's not rocket science. It's neuroscience, but the application of it is not particularly hard. It just requires an intention. And I think that's a really good question to ask in any situation: is what is my intention here?
Mm-hmm.
In
Mm-hmm.
a conversation or a disagreement, perhaps, or or an activity, whatever it is you're choosing to do. What is my intention here? And if you can align, when that intention aligns with what your vision or expectation for yourself is, then you start to find some alignment. That's when you start to notice things feel different
Mm-hmm.
and feel good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because if you force gratitude, for instance, it doesn't, it's not effective. And it's also just the not easy part is committing to whatever that practice is that grounds you, that helps you to remain present. I think keeping that is what maybe be hard, because we have so many things that compete for our attention, for our energy, for our time. And so it can be really hard to set aside time to go to bed early so that you can wake up, so that you can do whatever your morning routine is that sets you up for the day. Sometimes that, isn't easy when there's like a show that you want to watch late at night, or something
Yep.
like that. It's really easy and simple. But man, do you feel the difference the next day?
Mm, mm.
And
Mm,
so those are kind of, I guess, what you could maybe call the consequences, is you can feel the shift or the difference, the lack of connectedness, groundedness within yourself. And that's just a reminder of, hey, I matter enough to set aside the time to prioritize myself over anything else, because I feel the difference and I want to be effective. Ultimately, we want to fulfill whatever the purpose is we feel like we have in our life daily. And so if we feel like we're not able to do that because we're not connected, we're not grounded, we're not showing up, right? We're not present because
mm-hmm,
we're thinking about something else that's happening, or
mm-hmm,
then we can feel the difference, and we may not be as effective if we don't have the intention set for the day, and then therefore acting out of that place, not everywhere else that
mm.
is demanding something from us.
Totally. I love everything you just shared there, and there's a lot of tools and resources to help us do this now. James Clear's book Atomic Habits has been really helpful for me in terms of changing behavior. And
Yes.
essentially, you can wake up, you can go, and I don't know if anyone else does this, but typically a Sunday night for me is like, okay, good. Well, I'm going to start like next week. It's going to be completely different. I'm going to do this every morning, do that every afternoon, do this every evening. Next week, Monday, good start to the day, clean slate, go to bed, and wake up in the morning, and nothing changes, because that's not how behavior change works. It takes time and it takes a lot of conditioning. And there are ways in which we need to learn how to do that, because we can't expect ourselves to change overnight.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
habits is how we change behavior through habits. But something we can do, that I think for me is probably one of the most powerful things, is just to whenever you can, and whenever you um, feel like you need to just pause. And it sounds so trite and kind of simple, but it works. Pause, take a moment, and go and ask, what am I doing?
Mm-hmm.
What am I doing in this situation? What am I feeling? What am I saying? What am I doing? What am I experiencing? And for me, that's presence, and that's mindfulness.
Mm-hmm.
Mindfulness for me is not like meditating and just listening to the sound of the ocean. It's actually just being present to what it is that I'm experiencing, and what is the story that I'm telling myself, and what am I making that mean, and how is that working out for me? And
Mm-hmm.
so, in a conversation, in a disagreement, in a situation where I'm frustrated about something, I'll just pause and go, okay, what's actually going on here? And so much is just a story that I'm telling in my mind that is just, it's like a runaway freight train, and it just gathers momentum, and it becomes a bloody train wreck if I don't check it. And likewise, when things are going really well, like this morning, I feel
Yeah.
great, and I'm like, okay, what what are the kind of antecedents to this? Like, how did I get here in this space? Well, look back and you connect the dots, and it's like, cool, let's do more of that. So mindfulness to me and being present is just about being is taking a moment and a breath, and it's like 30 seconds to go check in. What is my body feeling? Am I tense? Am I
Mm-hmm.
stressed? Am I up? Am I tight? And what's going on here? Because your body will tell you. And how does
Yep.
this? What's the loop? What's the
Yep.
feedback loop? What's the story? What's my state? And then what am I going to do about that? And
Mm-hmm.
realigning that perspective, as you said before, with just acknowledging something that you're grateful for, just helps to get off that loop of potentially downward spiral of destructive thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Negative thought patterns are a real thing, and negative emotional loops are also a real thing. And
And
so
we're not
it's,
even aware of them until we pause, right?
yeah. Yeah.
Because it's happening on default, because it's been happening our whole lives.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like this is something that we have to undo, and unlearn how to do this behavioral conditioning that happens.
Mm-hmm.
These neurological kind of, sort of pathways that just are hardwired, by default. We have to actively undo that. because otherwise nothing's going to change, no matter how much we want it to.
Yeah, so true. Now, I want to wrap up and talk a little bit about the community that you're starting. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, I'm fortunate to have some wonderful contacts and a really great network of people who are doing great work in the people and culture space in organisations, and that's where I've been working in the last sort of 7 years. And so, I just wanted to bring these people together because I'm always sort of introducing people or recommending people for jobs, and people asking me, hey, do you know someone who would fit this role? And I'm like, yep, here's a list of people that I know. And so I've just wanted to bring all these people together and just gather a community. And there's a real intention behind it as well. The intention is we know that the world of work needs to change, and we know that how we work isn't working for everybody. And not only is it not working, not only are we not, going to work and doing our best work, but, there are so many people who are actively discriminated and excluded from the opportunity and the right to work and do good work, and the discrepancy between pay scales at the moment is just ridiculous, and the system is fundamentally broken. So how do we fix it? We have to fix. We can fix it from within, and I feel like there's an opportunity to fix a broken system from within it. And so just gathering people together, and we believe that through self-awareness first, and then through empathy, and then through inspired leadership, we can have an influence on the world of work. We can have an influence in our workplaces. We can have an influence with the people, with the people that we work with. And if you're a leader, you've got a significant opportunity to drive change. And so just wanted to bring all these people that I know and love and have worked with and do work with together. And so we created a Slack workspace, and, I just put it out there on LinkedIn, put a post out and said, who's keen to come and hang in this space? And, we've got 100 people in there at the moment, and everyone's just like, this just feels great. I'm so glad I found this community. And I'm like, oh, cool, me too. So, it's definitely kind of hit a sweet spot for a lot of people. And and it's open, it's free. There's no catch. It's just a community where you can feel supported, and you can support others too. We live and work in a knowledge economy where, your experience is valuable. And so bringing people together to help each other to bring about the kind of change that we want to see I feel like that's a real opportunity for us at the moment. And so, the Conscious Culture Collective is what we're calling it. And it's a really great bunch of people. And I know, quite a few of them. Most of them I don't. Complete strangers who resonate with the purpose. And so anyone who's interested is more than welcome to come and join and learn and contribute. I really focus on it being an inclusive space, and it's not for dishing out advice. It's not for selling your product. It's for listening, for learning, supporting, and challenging each other as well to do better.
That's so cool. So you have a link in your bio, right? That people here could go and follow.
So, if you're on Instagram watching this, which you probably are because that's where we are, then there's a link in the bio. Just register. Hit that, and it's easy. And I'd love to see you in there.
So cool. Mike, thank you so much for taking time out of your wonderful, technically staycation since you're a Californian, but you're getting away. I love it. Thank you so much for taking the time. This conversation was really awesome and inspiring. It'll also go up on the new YouTube channel that Soulish has. So I'm super excited it'll be there too. So thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
I want to thank you. Thank you for creating this space and the opportunity to have these conversations. And it's been of so much value for me to talk with you. And I know that everyone who connects with the work that you do also experiences that. So thank you for putting in the time. It's a lot of work to do this, to create a podcast, YouTube, and all the things that you do. It's a full-time job, and you do it because you love it, and we appreciate it. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And a satisfied mind, people. If you aren't following a satisfied mind, you are missing out. So definitely follow a satisfied mind podcast as well. Super great content and super inspiring. So thank you so much, Mike. Really appreciate you. We'll
Thank you,
have you back
Whitney.
on for sure because amazing. We
Yeah,
have so
look
much
forward
to
to it.
talk about.
Hey, I'm trying to get into the whole, American thing. It's Super Bowl today. Who should I be supporting?
You
Who do I
know,
barrack for?
I'm so bad. I'm literally just going for the pizza.
I'm 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 hearing you. We're just planning like what food we're going to eat today. I don't
Yeah.
even know if it's on the television or channel, but anyway, it's all about the food,
Yeah.
right?
It's at 3:30. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's a chance to get with my family. So that's
Yep.
kind of my excuse. I'm cool whoever wins. It's just fun to be able to kind of have some sense of normalcy. So for me,
Hmm.
I'm going for the Angelino's or Angelo's pizza at a local
Love
spot
it.
that my parents love. So I'm excited.
That sounds like a win-win outcome for you.
Totally.
Awesome. Well, enjoy the time with your family and enjoy the
Thank
pizza.
you. Thank you. Enjoy your day as well. Thank you,
Will
everybody, for
do.
joining. Love you guys.
Yeah.
See you
Good to
soon.
see some people, some friendly faces on here too. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. Bye.
Thanks, Whitney. Bye.